welcome back to another episode of the Urban Bible Podcast, where we talk about the Bible in a way that everybody can understand. Listen, y'all, we are out here for real, for real. We're just out here on this Christian journey, moving right along, right? We are on episode 19, and we are in Genesis chapter 41. So, you remember the last time we talked, uh, Joseph was in prison, and um, the chief cupbearer, the man that hold Pharaoh's cup, got restored to his position, right? But Joseph was like, "Hey, don't forget to remember me when you get restored to your position." That man forgot all about Joseph, right? Child, you see how some people do you. However, we are starting chapter 41. So, 2 years, a whole 2 years had passed since, Joseph interpreted those dreams for those two guys, right? However, Pharaoh then had a dream that he was standing on the bank of the river, right? And in this dream, he saw seven fat, healthy cows that came up out of the river to graze on the meadow, right? Then he saw seven more cows come up out the river, but they were like real scrawny, real thin, real small. Like they weren't beefed up like them other cows. And they stood beside the big cows on the riverbank, right? So then the seven scrawny cows ate the seven fat cows. Like what? And that's when Pharaoh woke up from his dream. Man, listen. He was still tired because you had that crazy dream. You're like, man, I don't know what that's about. Let me go ahead and go back to sleep, get me some more rest, blah, blah, blah. He was still tired, so he went back to sleep. But you best believe he had another dream. In this dream, there were seven heads of grain that were big, nice, plump, juicy, whatever. And they were growing on a single stalk, right? Then there were seven more heads of grain that appeared, and they were real shriveled and withered by the east wind, right? The east wind must have blown. That must be where the chilly winds was blowing from, the east side. Uh, then those thin heads swallowed up the seven plump heads. Listen, as soon as I read that, all I could think about was, have you ever been swallowed up? Yeah. So then he woke up again and realized that it was all a dream. So that next morning, Pharaoh was like, yo, what in the world happened last night? What in the world was I dreaming? Like, what was going on? I need somebody to tell me what that means. So you know what he did? He went out and he called all his magicians and all the wise men of Egypt and was like, hey, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all my dream. Y'all tell me what it means. He called out everybody. I mean, everybody that he thought could interpret his dream, he called them out, right? But when Pharaoh told him his dream, nobody knew what that thing meant. We don't know, man. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. Nobody could interpret it or tell him what it meant. Like, I don't know what that means. Finally, after 2 whole years, 2 whole years, the king's cupbearer was like, oh, you know what? Today I realized my bad, man. I done messed up. I done messed up. Like, that's when he realized he was supposed to look out for Joseph when he got restored back to his position, but he didn't. But he was like, listen, man, it's I today I just remembered that I done messed up for real. I done messed up. Some time ago when you was mad at me and the chief baker, you put us in prison at the palace of the captain of the guard. And, you know, I told this little dude my dream. We both had dreams that night actually. We told him our dreams and he told us the meanings for them dreams. And he was like, listen, there was this young Hebrew boy that was locked up with us. He was, a servant of the captain of the guard at the time. We told him our dream. He told us what it meant. Everything. And I mean everything that he said would happen, happened. And it happened just like he said. All right. I was restored to my position as the chief cupbearer. And that baker, he was executed and impaled on that pole. He told us down to the T what was going to happen and when it was going to happen, even down to the 3 days. And so Pharaoh was like, go get him right now. Go get him right now. Right now. Not now, but right now. And so Joseph was brought out to prison. They brought him out the prison dungeon or whatever. They just shaved my man because he ain't had no clippers in there. They just shaved him off. They done changed his clothes because he was a prisoner, so ain't no telling what his clothes was like down there in the dungeon. They got him cleaned up so he could go before Pharaoh, right? Pharaoh was like, "Hey, listen, I done had these dreams and can't nobody tell me what they mean. But I heard that if I tell you my dream, you can tell me what it means." Joseph was like, "Nah, man, that ain't even me. But God can give you what you're looking for and to ease your mind, for real. That's all God." Pause. I just want to let you know. Joseph knew that his quote unquote special abilities came from God, right? I feel like that's what we now call our spiritual gifts. Things that we can do that are outside of our human capabilities are definitely gifts from God, right? Like, there are times I can see things, and I know that it's a gift from God because I can't. God will give me ideas, and I'd be like, yeah, that ain't even me. I ain't even smart enough to. I'm not smart enough to think of nothing like that. Like, me and my friends are working on this project right now, and I'm like, listen, this is the plan that God gave me at 5:24 a.m. on July 16th, 2025. Like, I ain't smart enough, and plus he woke me up early to tell me this. So, yeah, you got to know that some of these abilities that you got, they're definitely from God, and you got to give him credit where credit is due. You can't be like, "Oh, yes, I'm a prophet of the Lord, and I can tell you everything that you need me to tell you. I can tell you everything that you're hoping for me to tell you." No, 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 no. If God ain't giving it to you, you ain't about to tell nobody nothing. Listen, I gotta consult with God and let him tell me what I need to tell you, and then we can go from there. A lot of people get so wrapped up in their quote unquote gifts that they forget to acknowledge that God is the gift giver. All right. Y'all, these ain't even y'all's gifts for real. God gave y'all these. And if he wanted to, he could take them back. Like, he ain't no Indian giver or nothing, but listen, he could take them back if he wanted to. So, yeah. Joseph was like, yeah, that ain't even me. That's all God. So just make sure that when you're operating in the power that God gives you, make sure you give him credit where credit is due, because that's all God. That's all God, right? Anyway, moving on. So Pharaoh ends up telling Joseph his dreams, right? He was like, listen, I had this dream. I saw these 7 fat cows grazing in the meadow by the Nile River or whatever. And then boom, 7 more cows come up out of the river and they were scrawny. Next thing I know, these 7 small cows ate these 7 fat cows. But it didn't make no difference because it looked like they ain't never ate nothing. It looked like they hadn't even eat nothing. They were still small, still scrawny, still thin. You can't even tell they ate them big fat cows. And I know them fat cows had a lot of meat on them. You can't even tell. But that's when I woke up. That's when I woke up. But I also had another dream right after that because, I went back to sleep. And I saw 7 grain heads, and they were nice and plump. They had a bunch of grain on. They were all on a single stalk or whatever. But then I saw 7 more grain heads, but these were shriveled up by the east wind. The chilly winds don't blow. Yeah, they were shriveled by the little east wind or whatever. But the thin grain heads swallowed up the plump grain heads. I told this to all my magicians and all my wise men and everybody that I could tell, and they couldn't even tell me what this meant. So you got to help your boy. Help your boy Pharaoh out now. I don't even know what to do. So Joseph was like, listen, they both mean the same thing. God is trying to tell you what he about to do over here in Egypt. God giving you forewarning of what he about to do in Egypt. Pause. I know. I'm not going to keep pausing in the story, but I just want to say, sometimes these dreams do be God given, and God be trying to tell us what he trying to do. Like, currently in the world, a lot of people are like, hey, y'all need to stock up. Y'all need to get stuff together. Y'all need to make sure y'all got some emergency plans in place because something is coming. And now they're talking like, oh, we might get shut down again or whatever. Like, the prophets been hearing this. The dreamers been hearing this. The seers been hearing this, right? Like, God definitely gives us some warnings and some dreams. That's why I feel like every time I dream, it's God trying to tell me something. Or the enemy trying to intercept. But, I can discern that. Anyway, God definitely talks in these dreams. And so some of these dreams that you think you're having, they're just like random and weird. No, God really be trying to tell you something. So make sure you surround yourself with some friends, with some close, spiritual, praying, Holy Ghost filled friends that can help you with these dreams. You need a Joseph in your life, right? We got Aunt P. We already mentioned him in the previous episode. We got Aunt P because Aunt is like, he uses his spiritual gifts for the Lord, amen. But like, y'all need y'all some good godly friends that can help y'all with these dreams y'all be having. Some of these dreams ain't always good. I used to have a bunch of snake dreams and I already knew that wasn't good. But anyway, Joseph was like, listen, God trying to tell you what he about to do. Them 7 fat cows and them 7 plump heads of grain, they represent 7 years of prosperity. Like Egypt about to flourish. They about to be super good right now. But them 7 thin cows and they came up later, and the little 7 withered heads of grain, they represent 7 years of famine. All right, and watch what I tell you. This gonna happen just like I said, because God said He trying to show you what He about to do. He gave you the same thing in both dreams, and He trying to let you know so you can get prepared. The next 7 years will be very prosperous in the land of Egypt. Like everything gonna flourish. You're gonna have all kinds of crops. It's gonna produce an abundance of crops out here in the land of Egypt. But after that, y'all about to go into 7 years of famine, and it's gonna be so bad that all the prosperous years gonna be forgotten about. Like the famine is going to destroy the whole land. It's about to destroy the whole entire land of Egypt, just because that's how bad it's about to be. So the famine is going to be so severe that even the good, prosperous years are going to be forgotten about. They not even going to be able to remember it. Nobody is going to be able to remember when the land was thriving, because that famine going to hit so hard and it's going to cut deep for real. So that's the reason why God allowed you to have these 2 dreams, because God was trying to tell you His established plan and that it's about to happen sooner than you think. So you better get right. You better get prepared. You better get prepared, because these 7 years of prosperity about to come up real quick, and you got to be prepared. You got to have a plan, or else y'all gonna all die in that famine. Listen, Joseph was running it down to him. You hear me? He was running it down to him. So he was like, listen, I love Joseph for this. I really do. He was like, it would be in your best interest to find somebody who's intelligent and wise and put them in charge of all of Egypt, because you're going to need that. You're going to need that. You're going to need somebody on your team that can tell you how to maneuver through all of these changes that's about to hit Egypt, right? He was like, listen, in addition to finding one man, one wise, intelligent, handsome, young Hebrew man, he ain't say all that, but in addition to finding a wise, intelligent man to run the land, Pharaoh also gonna have to appoint some supervisors over the land, and they gonna have to collect 1/5 of all the crops that come out during the prosperous 7 years, right? Like y'all need to take all this stuff and y'all need to go store it, have them gather it, and go store them in the cities. Like y'all need to build some storehouses, have some storehouses in the cities, so that when these crops are coming through, I mean, they're going to be coming through at rapid speed during the prosperous years. When they're coming through, y'all need to take 1/5 of all of that and stack them up, right? Have them gather the food. The supervisors gather the food that they produce in these years, bring them to Pharaoh's storehouses, store them up, and protect them, because it's thieves out here. Protect them mugs. Y'all got to protect them so that the cities will have food when the famine hit, because it's going to hit, and it's going to hit hard. That way, it'll be enough food to eat when the famine hits. And if not, I already told you, big boy, the famine is going to destroy this land. The famine is going to destroy the land if you don't do exactly what I just told you to do. Now listen, one thing that I love about Joseph and the way that he played this whole thing out, I love the fact that he was like, listen, this is what you need. You need you a wise man. You need some supervisors. You need to store up this grain. You need to store up these crops. You need to store up everything that you got. Joseph basically was like, listen, this is what you need, but let me show you why I'm the man for the job without saying I'm the man for the job, right? He showed them why he was the man for the job. I mean, he completely sold himself to Pharaoh and his officials. Like he gave them the rundown of all rundowns and was like, "Yeah, get y'all somebody that can do that. Get y'all somebody that can do that." It's crazy because, bruh, you literally just described yourself, but it's cool. It's cool. Moving on. Pharaoh and all his officials were like, I think that sounds good. That sounds like a good plan to me. I mean, none of us thought of that. So I think it's good. So Pharaoh asked his officials, listen, where can we find somebody who is obviously filled with the Spirit of the Lord and they can help us with this matter? Bruh, why are you even asking that? Buddy just ran it all down. And you asking who can do this? You already couldn't find nobody to interpret your dreams or even tell you what it meant. Now you got this man telling you what your dream meant and giving you the plan of how to stay afloat once the famine hit. Bruh, why are you even asking? Why are you even asking? He right there. Like, what is the problem? He is right there. Getting on my nerves. Anyway, Pharaoh told Joseph, hey, listen, since God revealed this to you and all these things, and nobody else could do it, and nobody else seemed to be as qualified as you, and, you know, you, listen, you are in charge. I'm about to put everybody in charge of you, and you're in charge of my whole court, right? Call my people, take orders from you. Like, they about to have to take all these orders from you because I'm putting you in charge. It sounds like you the man for the job. I'm telling you. The only one, the only one that's going to have a higher rank than you is me. And that's only because I sit on the throne. If I didn't sit on this throne, I'd be under you too. Everybody. You are in charge of everybody. 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 Except for me. So, Pharaoh tells Joseph, like, listen, I hereby appoint you, Joseph, in charge of all the land of Egypt, right? Then he took off his little signet ring, because that's what all pharaohs got. Took off his little signet ring and put it on Joseph's finger. Then he put Joseph in some nice linen suits. I mean, boy was dripped out. Okay. Then he iced out his neck. Iced out his neck with a gold chain. Boy, they had Joseph in there looking like $1 million as the top dog of Egypt. Your brothers didn't put you in this pit and then sold you to these Midianite traders, and now you over here top dog in Egypt, right? Come on, bruh. Then, in addition to all of that, he put Joseph in the chariot that was reserved for his second in command and rode that mug through the land like, hey, y'all see him? Y'all see him? Y'all see him? Y'all see him? Everywhere Joseph went, they shouted, hey, kneel down, because they realized that was the second in command chariot, and they about as powerful as Pharaoh. So y'all got to bow down to him over here. Like, show some respect. Show some respect. Put some respect on Joseph's name, right? So Pharaoh made him ruler over all of Egypt. So basically, Joseph was like the vice Pharaoh of all of Egypt, right? Like, he's second in command. He's taking charge. Only person higher than him is Pharaoh at this point. So Pharaoh tells Joseph, listen, I'm Pharaoh, but don't nobody do nothing around here without your approval. Like, it don't matter. Hey, you got to go out of town to see your family. You got to get Joseph's approval first. I'm Pharaoh, but I can't tell you what to do. You got to ask him. Basically, Pharaoh was like, listen, everything got to come through you. Everything anybody want to do got to come through you. But what's funny is he ended up giving Joseph an Egyptian name. And y'all know how I am with names, so y'all just bear with me. He gave Joseph the Egyptian name Zaphenath Paneah, right? Zaphenath Paneah. He also gave him a wife, and his wife's name was Asenath. That's how I'm going to say it. She was the daughter of Potiphar, the prince of On. I don't think this is the same Potiphar that Joseph used to work for, but that's neither here nor there. So Joseph took over the land, right? Mind you, a lot has happened in Joseph's young life, right? But he was only 30 years old when he was put in charge of Egypt. Can you imagine being 30 and over the land? Like what? When he was not with Pharaoh, he was out traveling throughout the land. Like he out scouting the land. He out trying to see what the lay of the land looked like. He trying to see where he gonna set up his storehouses. He's just trying to have a plan because he the man for the job, right? So during those 7 years of prosperity or whatever, the land produced an abundance, and I mean an abundance of crops. I mean you couldn't even hold it all. Basically, it produced so much food for the people, right? And Joseph collected all the food that was grown in Egypt and he stored it off in the cities. Each city I feel like had their own respective storehouse. So he stored all their food in like their respective cities or whatever. And each city had locally grown food stored, right? Because it said that the cities were from the towns around the city. Like all the crops that were grown, all the grain that was grown, that came from around that certain city, right? Let's say, you're in Charlotte. Okay, you're going to get grain from the surrounding areas or whatever. I don't know. That's just what was happening. It was locally grown. I mean, locally grown. So he stored up large amounts of grain. Like it was so much, it was like the sand on the seashore. The Bible always talks about the sand on the seashore, and you can only imagine just how much that actually is. But he stored up grain and it was like sand on the seashore. So after a while, Joseph was like, listen, I don't even, I'm about to stop counting. He stopped keeping a record of how much was stored because it was too much to measure. Like we can't even calculate all that we got in here. Like we just cannot calculate all the food that's been stored up. So hopefully this sustains us throughout this famine. And during that time, Joseph's wife, Asenath, had two sons, right? The older son they named Manasseh because God had made him forget his troubles and his daddy's people. Like, forget them mugs, right? Forget them mugs. He was like, yeah, God had made me forget them. But Manasseh means causing to forget in Hebrew. He also had a second son, and this son's name was Ephraim because God had made him fruitful in the land that he was suffering in, all right? God still blessed me even though I'm over here suffering. Even though I was sent here to suffer, God is still blessing me and he's still sitting high and mighty on this throne. Amen? All right. So, yeah. Ephraim means fruitful. Now, the 7 years of abundance was coming to an end. It was about to be over. And the famine had started, right? The famine hit the surrounding areas and Egypt had plenty of food. Like the famine hit everywhere, but Egypt, they were still holding on. They were still holding on. They still had stuff in the storehouse that Joseph had put up during them 7 years of prosperity. They were good. Everything was popping off, like Joseph said. Mind you, this dream happened 7 years ago, and everything was popping off, just like Joseph said they would pop off. So, as the famine spread and the food started getting low, the people cried out to Pharaoh. Like so it wasn't like the food in the storehouses. When the crops stopped producing because it was a famine hitting the land, when their land wasn't producing anything, that's when they cried out to Pharaoh and was like, "Hey, our green beans ain't growing, buddy. Our squash ain't growing. Our watermelon ain't growing. I don't even know what they had over there other than grain. Our food is not growing, okay?" He was like, "Listen, y'all go find Joseph and y'all do whatever that man say." Because Pharaoh already knew. He already knew, like, listen, Joseph gonna take care of y'all. So they went and found Joseph, and they had to do whatever Joseph said, right? So at that point, that's when Joseph started opening up the storehouses and started distributing the grains to the Egyptians. Like, I don't think he was giving food for the people like on the outskirts of Egypt, but he was definitely rationing out grain for the Egyptians, right? Then all the surrounding countries came to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was so bad. Like, after he had rationed out his stuff to the Egyptians, all these other people were like, "Hey, y'all a big city. We the little people. We the little people. We need help too." So yeah, the The famine was that bad, y'all. I mean, it was that bad. Like, it ain't producing nothing. Imagine being in a land that isn't producing anything. You don't know where your next meal is gonna come from because it's not ain't nothing moving, ain't nothing shaking, right? But all of them surrounding countries came because the famine was that bad. Dang. That's how chapter 41 ends, y'all. That is how chapter 41 ends. All right, y'all. That's another episode of the Urban Bible Podcast in the books. All right. I appreciate y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all for coming along with me on this journey. I thank you for all your love and support and all the kindness that you've shown. I thank you for my faithful listeners. Um, Whether I know you by name or not, I appreciate y'all for real, for real. Um, please let me know how y'all are enjoying this podcast, or if you're not enjoying the podcast, let me know that too. But take it up with the Lord at the end of the day, because I don't know what else to do, y'all. I'm just doing it the way He told me to do it, and I don't know what else to do. Anyway, yeah. So as always, I pray that something that was said prompts you to get into your word and to form a deeper relationship with God, because that's really why we here. All right, y'all know that's why we here. Y'all know that's why we here. So I just pray that y'all grow deep in the Lord. All right, because that's why we here. Also, anybody have any prayer requests? I urge you, I implore you to send them to my email address at theurbanbiblepod@gmail.com. Again, I am thoroughly enjoying this journey with y'all. I love everything that y'all like represent in my life, just like the love and the support that sometimes I don't seem to feel like I get. But it's cool because the Lord is faithful and He is good, and it ain't about me and it's about Him. But I appreciate y'all in the journey that y'all are taking with me, and um, yeah, I just pray that we can continue to grow in God, because that's what we doing out here. All right. But until next time, I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.